In the heart of Christian tradition, we find stories that not only nourish our faith, but also inspire us to live with greater purpose and courage. Among these stories stands out that of Saint Agnes, a young martyr whose life has been a source of inspiration throughout the centuries. Saint Agnes, a young woman whose earthly life was short but whose legacy is eternal, has been a source of inspiration throughout the centuries. Her story is a testament to the indomitable strength of the human spirit when nourished by faith and love for God, in an era when being Christian could mean facing death. Agnes showed the world that true purity and devotion are not only possible but are powerfully transformative. The fabric of her life is interwoven with threads of courage, sacrifice, and unshakable faith, demonstrating that even in the darkest moments, the light of a single soul can illuminate the path for many. Throughout the centuries, Saint Agnes has been a beacon of hope and a role model, teaching us that true greatness is often found in humility and that the most enduring power is that of pure and unconditional love. But before we immerse ourselves in the extraordinary life of Saint Agnes, we want to invite you to be an active part of our community by leaving your comments on this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications so you never miss our stories of faith, courage, and devotion. Your participation is what makes our community grow, and together we can continue exploring the lives of those who have left an indelible mark on the path of sanctity. Let us continue. The story of Saint Agnes begins in the heart of the Roman Empire, marked by a period of great turbulence and persecution for Christians. Born into a noble Christian family in Rome around the year 291, Agnes was a beacon of light in dark times. Her birth in society where Christian faith was not only marginalized, but acutely persecuted imprinted upon her life a context of courage and religious commitment from her earliest childhood. The era in which Agnes came into the world was dominated by the figure of Diocletian, a Roman emperor known for his authoritarian rule and especially for instigating one of the fiercest persecutions against Christians in the history of the empire. Although Diocletian's persecutions would reach their peak toward the end of his reign, the atmosphere of hostility and religious tension could already be felt in the early years of Agnes's life. Raised in a family that fervently practiced the Christian faith, Agnes was educated from childhood in the principles of Christianity. Her parents, aware of the danger that their faith implied in those times, made sure to instill in her not only love for God, but also a deep understanding of the importance of chastity and purity according to Christian teachings. Despite external threats, Agnes's home was a refuge of peace and devotion, where stories of martyrs and saints nourished her young imagination and strengthened her faith. Even in her early years, Agnes showed spiritual maturity and devotion that surprised those who knew her. Her decision to live in chastity and dedicate herself completely to God was not only a testimony of her faith, but also an act of rebellion against the social expectations of the time, especially for a young woman of her status. In a world where marriages were often arranged to strengthen political or economic ties, Agnes's choice stood out as a bold challenge to prevailing norms. Agnes's childhood passed under the shadow of persecution. Christians in Rome lived with the constant fear of being discovered, which could lead from confiscation of goods to death. In this atmosphere of oppression, meetings to pray and celebrate the Eucharist were held in secret in the catacombs or in private homes, far from the watchful eyes of the empire. The faith of Agnes's family and her community was a light in the darkness, an act of silent but powerful resistance against the empire. Although specific details about Agnes's parents and her family life are scarce, it is evident that they played a crucial role in forming Agnes's resilience and devotion. Teachings about figures like St. Peter and Paul, martyrs who had given their lives for Christ, surely formed part of her education, unconsciously preparing her for her own destiny. In this sense, Agnes not only grew in knowledge of her faith, but also in understanding that true devotion sometimes required a supreme sacrifice. All these circumstances not only forged her character, but also prepared her for the challenges she would face later in life. From a very young age, Agnes chose a path of purity and dedication to God, a decision that would eventually lead her to confront the power of the Roman Empire and become an eternal symbol of faith and sanctity for the Catholic Church. Her life from her earliest years is a testimony to the transformative power of faith and the light that can shine even in the darkest times. As her beauty and unshakable faith attracted the attention of many, in the core of her youth, Agnes encountered a test that would define her destiny. The son of the prefect of Rome, captivated by Agnes's beauty and grace, requested her in marriage. However, faithful to her vow of chastity and her exclusive dedication to God, Agnes rejected the proposal. This rejection was not only an act of personal devotion, but also a direct challenge to the power structures of the time. In response to her rejection, the prefect's son denounced her to his father for being Christian. Agnes was condemned to be exposed in a brothel, an attempt to humiliate her and break her spirit. Nevertheless, in this moment of vulnerability, one of the most notable miracles of her story manifested itself. Her hair grew miraculously, covering her body and preserving her dignity against lascivious gazes. This miraculous act is a testimony to the divine care and protection that surrounded Agnes even in moments of greatest danger. In one of the darkest and most challenging episodes of her captivity, Saint Agnes faced a test that would demonstrate her unshakable faith and divine presence at her side. In this place of shame where Agnes was exposed in her vulnerability, she encountered a man who, blinded by his own desires, attempted to force her. In that critical instant, a divine miracle occurred. An angel sent from heaven intervened, enveloping Agnes in a mantle of divine protection. The attacker was instantly blinded, incapacitated by the overwhelming light of Agnes's sanctity and purity. This miracle, far from being a moment of vengeance, became an opportunity for Agnes to demonstrate the depth of her compassion and faith. Despite the darkness that surrounded her and the affront she had suffered, Agnes chose to respond with love and mercy. She prayed fervently for the man who had tried to harm her, and through her sincere prayers, she achieved his healing. This man, who had been touched by the hand of divine justice, experienced a radical change not only in his physical sight, but also in his spiritual vision, thanks to Agnes's intercession. This moment not only highlights Agnes's unshakable purity and spiritual strength, but also illustrates her incredible capacity to forgive and heal. In an act of supreme love, she extended her mercy even to the one who had sought her degradation, teaching us an eternal lesson about the power of forgiveness and the transformation that can arise even from the most adverse circumstances. The angel's intervention and the subsequent healing of the man are testimonies to the divine care that surrounds those who maintain their faith and purity in the face of adversity, marking Saint Agnes not only as a martyr, but also as a beacon of hope and redemption. Despite the miracles and clear sign of divine favor, Agnes was finally condemned to death. Before the executioner, she was offered one last opportunity to abjure her faith and save her life. However, Agnes responded with a firmness that would resonate through the centuries. "It would be an injury to my spouse if I pretended to please another. I belong to the one who chose me first. Do not delay, executioner. Finish with this body that can be loved by eyes that I detest." With these words, Saint Agnes embraced martyrdom, sealing her faith with a supreme sacrifice. It is told that the executioner trembled as if he were condemned one. His hands wavered and his face paled, while in young Agnes, joy increased. The death of Saint Agnes was not the end, but the beginning of a miraculous legacy that would endure through the centuries, cementing her place as one of the most venerated saints in Christianity. As news of her martyrdom spread, divine grace seemed to manifest around the memories of her life and sacrifice. Immediately after her execution, it is told that the place of her martyrdom was the scene of divine signs. In the midst of the penetrating cold, flowers sprouted from the frozen ground that surrounded her decapitated body, a miracle that many interpreted as a symbol of her purity and innocence unaltered by the violence of her death. These flowers, defying the logic of nature, became a living testimony to her sanctity and the divine presence that accompanied her. The miracles associated with Saint Agnes were not limited to physical manifestations. Numerous faithful began to report visions in which the young martyr appeared, offering them comfort and strength in moments of doubt or despair. These apparitions not only affirmed the faith of those who experienced them, but also extended Agnes's spiritual impact beyond the confines of her own story, touching the lives of believers in various places and times. Among the accounts that followed St. Agnes's death stands out the story of her best friend, St. Emerentiana. Deeply touched by Agnes's faith and sacrifice, it is told that this young woman was found praying at St. Agnes's tomb, asking for her intercession and protection. However, her devotion put her on the path of martyrdom, as she was rebuked and attacked with stones by pagans while praying, and finally died from her wounds, joining Agnes in sanctity and sacrifice. This episode underscores not only the deep spiritual connection between Agnes and Emerentiana, but also the power of faith and devotion that transcends even death. The miraculous acts and visions that followed Saint Agnes's martyrdom served to cement her legacy in Christian tradition. Each flower that sprouted, each reported vision, was a reminder of the power of faith and divine intercession. Through these episodes, Agnes continued to exert profound spiritual impact, offering hope and strength to those who sought her guidance. Her story and the miracles associated with her remind us that sanctity and sacrifice have an echo that resonates far beyond earthly life, touching countless souls through time and space. Saint Agnes, in her youth, purity, and courage, stands as a beacon of light for all those who navigate the often stormy waters of faith and life, showing us the path toward deeper devotion and unwavering commitment to our most sacred principles. Saint Agnes is remembered as a martyr of the Catholic Church and is venerated throughout the Christian world. Her feast day is celebrated on January 21st. She is considered the patron saint of young women, brides, and purity. Churches and chapels throughout the world bear her name in honor of her memory. Devotion to Saint Agnes has inspired countless faithful throughout the centuries to live with courage and conviction in their faith. Her story is a testimony to the strength that can be found in innocence and dedication to God, even in the face of the most extreme adversity. Saint Agnes continues to be a powerful symbol of purity and unshakable faith. Her legacy endures as a beacon of light for future generations, reminding us of the importance of living according to our most sacred principles. From her early devotion to God to her martyrdom, her life continues to inspire believers throughout the world. Through her legacy, Saint Agnes teaches us the importance of spiritual fortitude and conviction in our beliefs, a timeless lesson for all the faithful. We hope you found in this story a beacon of light and a source of inspiration for your own faith. If this tale of courage, purity, and unshakable devotion has touched your hearts, we invite you to show your support by leaving a like and sharing this video with friends and family who might also find comfort and motivation in these words. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our future episodes, where we will continue exploring the fascinating and spiritual lives of those who have marked before and after in the history of our faith. Together, let us continue building this beautiful community of faith, sharing and celebrating the lives of the saints. Agnes teaches us the path toward a fuller and more dedicated life. Thank you for joining us today. God bless you. See you in the next episode of Santa Santorum.